Okay, coming up next, we're going to give up Fondenaru.
Thank you.
Cool. So for the past 8 weeks or so, I have been, or actually for a while now, I've been composing a poem called Perseus and Medusa, which is an epic poem that tells the story of the ancient Greek hero and his myth and how he killed Medusa and all of his adventures after that. So I made it a 15-chapter book, and in previous events at this venue, I've recited the first 14 chapters. So now you all get to hear the final one, chapter 15. But you're in luck, you don't just get dropped in the middle of it. If you haven't heard the previous ones, the 15th chapter happens to be a summary of the entire story. So you get to hear kind of a little bit of everything. Here we go, chapter 15, the death of Perseus. When we last left our hero, Perseus reigned in Argos with his wife and 7 children. He finally met his grandfather and tried to impress him at an athletic competition, but he accidentally killed him when a discus blew off course, thus fulfilling an ancient prophecy. We pick up the story after the funeral, with Perseus reigning in the land of his birth. When Perseus grew old, he called his children to his bed, and told them he was sure that he must shortly join the dead. He therefore wrote a final song, which now he wished to sing, to summarize the story of their father and their king. The city Argos had a ruler, unto whom was born Acrisius and Protus, by whose means the town was torn. In civil war they battled, and one day when Protus fled, a prophet told Acrisius his seed would strike him dead. He took his only daughter, and he built a brazen room, and shut her up within it, that it might become her tomb. But in a golden shower Zeus appeared before the lass, and lay with her, and sired me in that prison cell of brass. The king then sealed the girl and boy inside a wooden chest, and thrust us out to sea, whereat my mother was distressed. She wept and sang a lullaby to soothe me as I cried, until the chest was washed upon an island by the tide. A fisherman named Dictys then espied the Argive box, and freed us from confinement when he broke apart its locks. The fisherman then offered to adopt us as his own, and 15 years went by while I became more fully grown. The fisherman was brother to the ruler of the land, who, falling for my mother, asked if he might have her hand. But when she turned him down, her suitor showed himself depraved. Dishonoring his kin, he took my mother as a slave. Then I beheld a vision of Athena, tall and fair, who said one day my hand must slay Medusa in her lair. But first I had a task at hand to prove to her my worth. She sent me to the rescue of the one who gave me birth. The palace guards admitted me, for I was in disguise, and when I set my mother free, I sought the king's demise. But then she cried that I must not destroy the city's king, and so we left his palace, with his heart still festering. A year went by, and all the land appeared to be at peace, until that plotting tyrant schemed to trick me at a feast. He smote my vanity until I rashly swore and said that I would leave the island till I struck the Gorgon dead. As I went forth, Athena came before me once again, and told me where to go if I would seek Medusa's den. She said that if I honored her, my journey would be blessed, and gave me sacred weapons to assist me on my quest. She loaned to me a sword of adamant and shield of brass, whose polished face reflected objects like a looking glass. She also lent her goatskin cape and shoes that made me fly, with which I leapt from cloud to cloud and ran along the sky. I flew beyond the earth and found the icy, shapeless land. There dwelt the sisters gray, who passed their eye from hand to hand. I asked them how to find Medusa's lair, but they replied that they would give no answer, for their hearts were full of pride. And then I stole their eye and bade them swear to answer me, and so they said to seek the Mount of Atlas on the sea. For there, they said, the western nymphs would tell me where to go, and so I left the sisters gray to shiver in the snow. I found the mount and learned that I could not approach the fiend unless I wore a magic hat whose wearer can't be seen. But I could not obtain the hat which lay among the dead, and so a brave immortal nymph retrieved it in my stead. Then Atlas made me swear to let him see Medusa's eyes, for as a stone he'd feel no more the heavy earth and skies. So putting on my magic hat, I vanished out of sight, and flew away to meet the foe whom I was sworn to smite. I found her lair, and saw therein a mighty winged steed. His wings were fastened down, but I resolved to see him freed. I doffed my hat to soothe the horse, whose fetters held him fast, till I released him, whence his wings could spread themselves at last. Medusa then attacked me, but I rose up in the air, and gazed upon my shield to see her form reflected there. Then bounding down, I used my sword to sever off her head, and wrapped it in my cape, and leapt atop the horse, and fled. I kept my oath to Atlas, then I flew away back east, and crossed the land of Africa, while racing unto Greece. While there Medusa's blood dripped down, and where the fluids lay, a brood of giant vipers grew, which I was forced to slay. And then I braved the desert, where I nearly died of thirst, for every time I tried to fly, a sandstorm stopped me first. I begged the gods for help, and learned that I must change my bearing, so I allowed my guide to be the shoes that I was wearing. They guided me to Egypt, where I saw the Pharaoh's court, who tricked me into showing off Athena's gifts for sport. She punished me by taking back the sword and shield and shoes, but said she had another task which I must not refuse. In Palestine, she said, there dwelt a monstrous foe of men, and if I killed it, I would win esteem from her again. And so I joined a troop that went by way of Palestine, but stopped there when they passed it, to fulfill the God's design. And there I found a lovely girl, entrapped with lock and key, forsaken to appease a vicious dragon of the sea. I freed her from her fetters, and restored her hope of life, and asked her if I slew the monster, would she be my wife? She said she would, and so I went to slay her mighty foe, whose strength was such he could have dragged their kingdom down below. I caught the dragon's eye, to which Medusa's face was shown, and so the fearsome monster was converted into stone. Their king proclaimed that now the people need not be afraid, but Phineus, the brother of the king, was much dismayed. He said my bride must leave me be, and to his son be married, and went to slay me, till I held aloft the face I carried. He stiffened at its gaze, and then my bride and I were wed, and soon I saw a vision while asleep upon my bed. Athena praised my bravery, and bade me sail to Greece, and said to bring the head and cape to give them to her priests. Then, sailing forth from Palestine, and trading all the while, I filled my ship with wealth before I landed on my isle. I sought my mother then, and found her worried for her life. Her monarch once more sought her as a servant or a wife. Then, coming to the palace gate and entering inside, I showed the king Medusa's head, and he was petrified. Then Dictys took the island's throne, for he was next of kin, and I approached a shrine and placed the head and cape therein. I sailed for Argos then, where long ago I came to life, but coming there I found the city torn apart with strife. Acrisius was gone, and now his brother held the throne. I struck him down and sought their former king to bring him home. I found him in Larissa, where athletic games were held. They let me play and found my strength of limb unparalleled. But through an accident the Argive king was slain by me, and thus I heedlessly fulfilled the ancient prophecy. But from that time to this we've held the throne, my wife and I, and now that we are old, I know that soon we too shall die. I bid ye thus remember how I merited my glory, and show the heavens your esteem by passing down my story. His children wept, but he was right, for soon the man and wife lay down to rest upon their bed, and passed away from life. The ancients say Athena took them up into the heights, to shine with Cassiopeia and Cepheus as lights. So now, on starlit evenings, you may see them beaming down, with Cassiopeia enthroned, her husband with his crown. And Perseus still bears the Gorgon's head, which he uplifts, Andromeda beside him, as she stood upon the cliffs. All night they shine like beacon lights, for roaming eyes to seek, but in the day they feast with the immortals on their peak. The end. And I have a new poem, which will be a surprise. So I will probably go sign in again, and then come a little bit later in the evening, and you can hear my new epic story with new themes. We'll see.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, let's give it up for Renato. Giving us a bit of mythology, a contemporary style. We appreciate that. All right, we have Daisy in the house.